What up, my fellow YouTubers? This is George Bean, and tonight I'm doing a review on a certain small horror movie. Originally I was going to do a review on another movie, but I decided to do a review on this one movie that I feel deserves a bit more recognition. Hatchet. It's a 2006 slasher film written and directed by Adam Green, whom I will talk about later. The movie acts as a love letter to the old-school slasher movies of the 1980s, specifically the Friday the 13th franchise. Even the tagline says it all. Old-school American horror. Which is true. It's nice. But the movie focuses on 9 individuals who go into the swamps of southern Louisiana as part of a haunted swamp tour. After their tour boat accidentally sinks from a storm, they are left lost in the desolate swamps and find that they are being hunted down by the vengeful ghost of a disfigured man who uses a hatchet. And really, the plot is that simple. Well, you mostly can't get any simpler than that. That's basically what slasher films are made to do, to keep the viewers entertained. And that is the case with Hatchet, as the movie's first half plays out like a comedy. The humor is outright hilarious, and you'll have a fun time with the humor as the film progresses before the terror truly comes. Then the film's second half takes a sudden shift in tone and becomes a straight-up slasher flick, with blood flying out, flesh tearing off, awesome kills as well. For the cast, Joel David Moore played the character of Ben outstandingly, as he's such a likable person to root for. She tells me she needs space. What does that even mean in girl language? Space. Whatever. Get my mind off it. He's the man we connect with, and he's not some action hero who can handle a gun. He's just a normal guy like we are. Joel went on to be in other movies such as the 2007 psychological thriller Spiral, which he starred in and co-directed along with Adam Green. He also did the titanically massive 2009 sci-fi epic Avatar, directed by James Cameron. Tamara Feldman played Mary Beth Dunstan really well, as she gives the character a serious side, and she can handle a gun really well. She doesn't have a big track record in her filmography, but she was in the TV show Gossip Girl for 6 episodes. Dion Richmond plays Marcus, who's basically the comic relief in the film, and since he's the black guy in the horror movie, he tries to avoid getting killed by the swamp monster. He does die in the third act, but guys, I really feel the black guy dies cliche is really getting tiresome. I mean it. It's getting old. I'd like to see the black guy live in more scary movies. This is possibly Dion Richmond at his best in his filmography, as he gives off his performance perfectly and humorously. And he's the guy who makes sense in the movie, and like, this is bullshit, man, this is fucked up. I can see no dead elephant man coming to get me. He was also in 2000's Scream 3, the third installment of the Scream franchise, and the 2002 comedy National Lampoon's Van Wilder. The main villain, Victor Crowley, is played by actor/stunt coordinator Kane Hodder, the same man who played Jason Voorhees in 4 Friday the 13th films, from Part 7 to 10, or Jason X, which are Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood, Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday, and Jason X. Kane played the villain outstandingly, as he gives the character a good scare factor, and he really could possibly rip you apart. Also, it's good to see Kane starring in a horror movie again. And it's cool. You should look at the making of documentary on DVD or Blu-ray. He's determined on playing this role that even scares the his fellow cast members before the shooting of a scene that involves them. Mercedes McNabb and Julia Floriventi both played Misty and Jenna really well, the two hotties. I love how Misty is obviously the space cadet of the group, as some of her actions and talkings are questionable. Like, I'm about to dial 911, call the police, and they'll send someone out, like the cops. It makes no sense what she says. And she's a dumb blonde as well. And Jenna is the smart girl who tends to use big words that people might have never heard, such as syphilis. I just wish a spin-off was made focusing on these two girls. They did come back in a small cameo appearance in Hatchet 2, which is cool, and yet they still managed to make their scene together memorable. Joel Murray played the shady Doug Shapiro well enough, and he easily gives the role a duplicitous side. Joel was also in the 2002 TV sitcom Still Standing. Perry Shen's performance as Sean was good, and another thing you should look for is that he sometimes changes his accent, like twice. At first he goes for the "Y'all tried to crawfish yet?" and then he goes for "The boat didn't sink last night. I'm going to be honest." And then he goes, "Why don't you just get off my case, asshole? It was an accident, for Christ's sake." It's so funny, and there's one moment where he gets pissed and he goes like, "Christ, will you just let me do my job? Say ball daisy, get choppa choppa choppa." He speaks in his language, but it's so funny, and then when everyone looks at him awkwardly, like, what? He goes like, "Y'all tried to call fish yet?" And I love how Sean's schemes end up biting him in the ass as the movie progresses, like how Marcus, after hearing his accent change for the second time, he gets sucker punched. It's funny. Perry returned in the sequel Hatchet 2 as the character of Justin, Sean's twin brother, and it's cool. And he was also in Hatchet 3, yet another brother, twin triplets. Richard Reilly and Patricia Darbo both played Mr. and Mrs. Permadio as well as they could, since they both died 40 minutes into the movie. Spoilers. Richard was also in a lot of movies and TV shows, most notably the 2001 TV sitcom Grounded for Life. Also, you should be on the lookout for two other horror icons. The character of Reverend Zombie is played by Tony Todd, who is well known as horror villain Candyman. He scared the piss out of me when I was a kid when I saw him as Candyman on TV once. I'm not kidding. Candyman scared the holy hell out of me. And yet, when you see him in Tony Todd returned as Reverend Zombie in Hatchet 2, and you gotta see him in that, he is funny in it. Most of the stuff he did that involves the BS magic stuff is all by him. He improvised that. He delivers quite possibly the funniest story ever during his cameo. You gotta hear it from him, as he can deliver that story in with such hilarity. He appears at around 11 to 12 minutes into the movie, and it's so cool. Another horror icon you should look for, the second one, is Robert Englund, who played the iconic Freddy Krueger. He appears in a cameo role in this film's opening scene as Samson Dunstan, Mary Beth's father, who ends up getting killed by Victor Crowley along with his son Ainsley, who is played by Joshua Leonard, who had also appeared in the 1999 found-footage horror film The Blair Witch Project, which I'll review in the near future. The special makeup effects were done brilliantly by the great John Carl Buechler. What's cool is that this is actually Buechler's second collaboration with Kane Hodder, their first being 1988's Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood, which Buechler not only did the makeup effects for, but also directed it. That was Hodder's first film as Jason Voorhees as well. It's cool to see them back in this for another movie, in which case Hatchet. You probably may not have heard about this movie until it was too late, as it did not have as much a wider release as a typical Hollywood movie. The film was released in multiple film festivals from April 2006 to October 2007, before finally being released on DVD on December 2007. The movie received a mixed reception from critics and has an overall 49% Rotten approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, with an average score of 5.4 out of 10. However, it has gained a cult following among the horror fans. The reason why it is loved is because it wasn't a victim of severe studio interference, which is what horror films tend to fall into. It is a hard R-rated movie with over-the-top gore and brilliant gore to cheer for, humorous moments to laugh at, likable characters to root for and relate to, and a scary horror villain. It is not watered down to sissy PG-13 rating like most horror movies. I'm looking at you, Prom Night Remake. The over-the-top kills are absolutely a real treat to watch, after having not seen it in a lot of recent horror movies today. The film's, so yeah, gotta check out the kills, they're really creative and wow. The movie did go on to have 2 sequels, Hatchet 2 in 2010, with the lovely Scream Queen Danielle Harris replacing Tamara Feldman in the Mary Beth role, and Hatchet 3 in 2013, which basically acts as a conclusion to the Hatchet trilogy. There's talks of a possibility of a 4th Hatchet movie, but they're still not sure. Director Adam Green went on to direct more movies. That movie Spiral that I've already mentioned. He also directed the 2000 horror film Frozen, which had received a positive reception from horror fans alike. You also check out that movie as well. It's a good suspenseful thriller. It's tension-filled. Really good. So, in conclusion, in my ratings for Hatchet, I would give it 7 stars. I was conflicted as to whether or not to give it a 6.5, but I felt it deserved a 7 because it is a small, enjoyable, scary movie to watch on date night with a little Coke and popcorn. And also, you should check out the special features on the DVD or Blu-ray, as the makers of the film talk about what they went through during shooting, as it does suffer, and it shows that they were just trying to make a fun, scary movie, and the determination they were going through. The movie isn't without its flaws, as it does suffer from them, but you mustn't expect something really intelligent out of this movie, as you just need to turn off your brain in order to enjoy it. It may not be as memorable as the Friday the 13th movie, but sure as hell isn't a shitty movie. So thanks for watching, my fellow YouTubers, and if you enjoyed this movie, hopefully you'll find that same sense of joy from my other videos. And until next time, peace!